How can I file for divorce when my husband controls all the money? If you're thinking this, you're not alone. My name's Christopher Bruce. I'm a board certified divorce lawyer, and a lot of the women that my firm helps through the divorce process are thinking this exact same thing. So join me here and let me help you understand what you need to know so that you can approach your divorce with confidence, even though your husband is controlling all of the finances. The first thing I think you should do is make a budget. Why, you might ask? It's to help you understand how much money you truly need to get through the divorce. So how do you make the budget? Well, for starters, I have the Woman's Guide for Getting Organized for Divorce. It's available at divorceinformationbooks.com for free. Check out the information below in the description. We'll even mail you a copy if you'd like one. And that book takes you step by step on how to do it, but I'll explain it here too. First, just get out a pen and paper, or if you're good with spreadsheets, open up an Excel file and gather the following information. First, write down all of the assets that you have access. Those might be bank accounts in your name, they might be certain retirement accounts, they might be joint bank accounts. We'll talk a little bit more about those in a minute. After you've done that, then you need to make a budget of how much money you're going to need to pay for your expenses while the divorce is going on before anything like alimony comes into play, before you start receiving anything like alimony or other assets in the divorce settlement. So how do you do this? Just write down all of the things you're currently paying for each month. Think of all the things you're spending money on. Take a look at some of your credit card statements or bank accounts if you have access to them. If not, just write down the things that you're paying for in the typical week, the typical month, and try to estimate as close as possible to how much that expense is. After you've done that for all of your expenses, go through and cross out the things that your husband is already paying for and you think he's going to keep paying for. As an example, if you have a mortgage on the house and your husband's name is on the mortgage, you can probably cross that off your list. Most controlling men are going to continue to pay the mortgage during the divorce as much as they may threaten not to, because they don't want a ding to their credit. So for the mortgage payments in the house, other things that might be in your husband's name, such as the loan on your car, things like that, cross them off your list. And then once you've done all the crossouts, you'll come up with a total number. That's the total amount that you're probably going to need each month to continue living the same way that you are during the divorce if your husband's not giving you any money. Once you've done that, compare the amount of those expenses to the amount of your income, if you have any, and the amount by which those expenses are less than your income on a monthly basis is going to be your monthly need for your expenses. Now, what I like to have people do is take that monthly need and spread it out over a year. As an example, if you're going to need $2,000 a month to pay for your expenses, times that by 12 in a year. If the divorce takes a year, which is maybe a pessimistic estimate, but if the divorce takes a year, you're going to need $24,000 to pay for your expenses if your husband cuts you off and doesn't give you anything. Then add to that the amount of money that you anticipate spending on an attorney. This can vary by where you live, how complicated your divorce is, but for a lot of people, if they have a difficult husband, if there are assets to divide, something like alimony that's going to be going on, you can usually estimate between $15,000 to $25,000. This may end up being on the high side, but estimate that into the amount of money that you're going to need. So at this point, you're going to have a rough idea between your personal expenses and what you're going to spend on an attorney, how much money you're going to need to get through the divorce if your husband controls all the money and doesn't give you a dime. And this amount might seem like a lot of money. It very well is a lot of money, but you've put a number on it. And because of that, you can start planning on where are you going to get this amount of money. Remember now, we're worst case planning here. Ideally, in a divorce, your husband will get a really good attorney who will tell them to give you money to pay your bills, to pay money towards your lawyer, and you don't have to deal with any of this. But it's safer to plan on your husband not being a good person during the divorce so that you're financially secure if he's not. So at this point, you may be saying, hey, Chris, I've made my budget. I know how much I'm going to need for a year's worth of expenses and paying a lawyer. Where the heck am I supposed to get that type of money? Well, let's talk about it. First off, there's the bank accounts that you and your husband have. If it's an account in your name, well, that's easy. You can access that money if you need to. If the money's in joint accounts, you can take that money too. Special note, it's best to get a strategy from a lawyer before you start taking money out of joint accounts. Sometimes you need to do that at the same time you're filing for divorce or slightly before. But if the money's in a joint bank account, it's just as much yours as it is your husband's. Sure, he may end up being upset if you take the money you need to get through the divorce, but it's nothing that's illegal. Also, another thing to think about, in a lot of areas of Florida and other parts of the country, once you file for divorce, there can be certain court orders that come out that say you can't remove money from joint accounts. So, talk to a lawyer, but it's often best to take out the money you need right before you file for divorce. Another source of money that's often overlooked are retirement plans. If you worked in the past or you're currently working and have a 401k, you can likely take a loan against that money that you can use to fund your divorce expenses. In most cases, with most types of plans, you can get up to $50,000 or half of the account balance, whichever is higher. So if you think this option might be right for you, you'll need to start talking to your human resources department at work to get that process moving, and definitely establish a bank account in your own name only, probably at a different bank where you can receive that money. Don't put that money that you get from your 401k into a joint bank account, because then your husband can just grab it. Another source of money to get you through the divorce that's often overlooked is credit cards. Now, there's some people that don't like to owe money to the banks, and if that's you and you don't have a really good source of money to get you through the divorce, you might just have to look past it. Debt can be a very useful tool in certain situations, and getting through the divorce can be one of them. And this is a good time to bring up the value of meeting with an attorney. Oftentimes, a really good lawyer can sit with you and in an hour to 2 hours help you understand the big picture of the financial settlement you're going to receive. And once you know that information, it's easier to justify borrowing money on credit cards to get you through to the divorce, because you know at the end of the day you're going to get a settlement or you can use to pay off those credit cards if your husband is in order to. Credit cards can be great because a lot of the expenses you're going to have, you can pay using your credit card. You can pay just about all the lawyers out there and other divorce professionals on a credit card, and a lot of your day-to-day expenses you can pay on that credit card as well. Consider, if you don't have any credit cards, applying for them, getting a limit as high as you can so that you can utilize the cards in an emergency if you have to. Similar to credit cards, many people will also qualify for personal loans. I've seen our clients get them through American Express, Discover Card, and sometimes if you have a local banking relationship, you can get them through the bank as well. If you're in a relationship that's a toxic one, believe it or not, your family and friends have probably been aware of that for years and just been afraid to talk to you about it. Usually these people, especially family, really want to see you be in a happy, healthy place in life. And if they understand the amount of money you're likely to get in a divorce settlement will allow you to pay them back, they're more likely to allow you to borrow money to get through the divorce. And it doesn't mean that they're just giving you money that you're never going to pay back. You can do a promissory note to where you write up a contract of how you're going to pay them back with the divorce settlement. In fact, that's what we have a lot of our clients end up doing so that we can have the money that they get from their friends or family considered a true loan, which we can say is a debt in the divorce that their husband may have to pay for. There are some other strategies that you can use to save up for divorce if you truly don't have access to money. I've seen our clients start jobs, do some side hustles, and even do some crafty, clever things like when they go to Publix to buy groceries, they'll buy cash back or get prepaid credit cards. Some of that stuff takes a while to accumulate, but it can fly under the radar and give you an extra stash of cash when you need it. Another option, and this involves a little legal maneuvering, is freezing your husband's bank accounts when the divorce case starts. You usually have to have a very good reason to do this, but if your husband holds all of the money, sometimes your attorney can get a freeze on the account. What that does is a couple of things. Number one, it'll definitely agitate your husband. It may give you some leverage in settlement litigation. And third, it can get your husband to make an early compromise to give you access to the frozen accounts so that he can also get access and the freeze can be lifted. This can't be done in every situation, but for people who really need it, it can be a really effective tool. So you may be thinking, as a lot of my clients do at this point, what do the courts do? Why do I have to go and borrow all this money? Is there anything that can be done in the legal system if my husband's controlling all of the money in a divorce? And the answer is yes, but the court solution is usually not the most efficient, quickest or best solution, which is why I'm saving this for later here. In Florida and a lot of other states, it's possible to get what's called a temporary order in the divorce case. Once the divorce starts, you can apply to get these temporary orders, which require a court hearing. And in these temporary orders, the judges can require your husband to pay you alimony, to give you money for your expenses, to pay for your lawyers, to deal with other things that come up in the divorce, like custody of children and living in the house, things like that. The problem with these types of hearings is they're very short. They're usually 30 minutes max. The judges don't get to hear everything. They're just boom, 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 making quick decisions to try to keep everybody on as close to a level playing field as possible. In South Florida, the problem that I see with a lot of my clients is with the way the court systems work, it usually takes 3 to 5 months to get into court for these types of hearings. So this means you have to, at a minimum, have a little bit of a war chest saved up to get you through the point to where you can get to court. And sadly, the courts aren't usually giving you everything you need during these temporary hearings. They're not going to give you all of the money you need for your living expenses. They're not going to give you everything you ask for in most circumstances to pay for an attorney. Usually the judges are just giving out the bare minimum here, but temporary relief hearings and the orders that come from them are not something that you should plan around covering everything you need in the divorce process if your husband's controlling all of the money. I think one of the most important things that you can develop as you're going through a divorce when your husband is controlling a lot of the money or assets is a positive mindset. Know your why. Why are you doing this? What are the things in your life that you're looking to change? Yes, it may be a little bit laborious or maybe even uncomfortable to get through the financial aspect of the divorce, but think about everything that you have to gain. If you wake up every day being anxious, feeling like you're walking on eggshells, being worried about how your kids are going to fare in the future, seeing the abuse that your husband is giving to you, those things, fixing those problems are usually way more valuable to you over time and worth the cost of a little bit of short-term possibly financial strain. But with the right planning, by getting a good strategy, addressing the things we've talked about, usually those financial concerns can be alleviated and you can have the confidence you need to move forward with truly changing your life through the divorce process. Remember though, this stuff is easier said than done. You can get help through it. That's what attorneys are for. And you have to take action. If you don't take action, you're not going to get progress. So take action, you will have progress. We're here to help you. Check out the links in the description. We've got a lot of free resources available to help you through your divorce journey. I think especially helpful for you is the Women's Guide for Getting Organized for Divorce. We give that out for free. Also, if you're at the point in time to where you think you'd benefit from talking with an attorney, one of my law partners would be happy to have a meeting with you. My law firm, the Bruce Law Firm, has 13 lawyers at the moment. We serve Southeast Florida, basically Vero Beach, south through Miami, a few other areas of the state. We're constantly growing and expanding. Give us a call. We're looking forward to helping you. So tell me what you think about all this. Put your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found this helpful, please subscribe. You'll get more information as we put it out, which is very often. Until next time, thank you.